Because I hear this all the time, and I hate this. Guys will say, I married my best friend.
Okay. No.
People say, well, the men need to step up and be better and lead the women.
Yes.
Easier said than done.
Yes, easier said than done, but that's not the point of being a man. The point of being a man is that you do things, regardless of how hard they are.
It's epidemic of simps who...
Okay, so, all right, let's let him finish. All right, so there is a lot of marriage advice going around on the internet right now from a lot of guys who probably don't have the best idea of what marriage really looks like. Today, I want to, as graciously as possible, call some balls and strikes on some of Nick's views on marriage, specifically exposed in this interview with Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is about to ask him why people aren't getting married. Let's take a look.
I'm sorry I called you gay, by the way, but I'm always, I think I'm just too old or something. I'm like, what? Why isn't anyone married? You tell me, why aren't people married?
Well, I mean, honestly, it's the women. The women are...
Okay. It's the women. When you start just blaming the opposite sex, you're doing the same thing that feminism was doing. It's the same tactic, okay? Feminism says it's the patriarchy's fault. And now this rhetoric, the fact that the very first thing out of his mouth, and again, I'm not trying to just pick it apart, but the first thing out of his mouth was, honestly, it's the women. What that does is it takes the responsibility off the men to do anything about it. And it creates, in effect, practically in real life, it creates like this spirit of victimhood among men, which is not biblical. If there is a patriarchy, which Nick would say that there is, right? Then wouldn't it be the patriarchy's responsibility to enact change? And in order to enact change, you are a leader and you show a better way. Okay, that's what Christ did. That's what everybody did. Okay? And so I don't like the way that Nick is starting this off, and you'll see this tone carry through everything he has to say now. He's going to say that women are feminist, okay? And he might be right about that. Statistically, he's right. Let's take a look. But statistically, he has all the grounds in the world to stand off. So let's keep going here.
Extremely liberal. No one talks about that. Increasingly they do, especially after the last election. There's
I think a lot of people talk about the
45-point
fact that they're liberal. That's
difference
very common knowledge
between men and women. The men are extremely conservative, increasingly. The women are extremely liberal.
What are they liberal on? What issues? Like, what does that mean, liberal?
Oh, they're very feminist.
Like, actually?
Extremely feminist, yes.
They don't believe that, do they?
I think they do.
Really?
Absolutely,
yes. How could you believe that? I think gender roles are a construct, that none of this is inborn? Like, you'd have to be an idiot to think that.
They like the idea of it. They like because of course, I think all women naturally want strong men.
Of course.
Yeah, so he's right about that. So that's one of the correct things. Women do typically want a strong man. That's built into them, right? That's a characteristic. And so he's right about that. Young guys will hear that and be like, yeah, okay, I need to be a strong man. That's great. Great. If Nick encouraged you to be a strong man, awesome. That's so good. But now look what he's about to say. He mixes it in with something that's not correct.
They naturally want a Chad. They want like a tall, buff guy. But I think they like the idea of none of them want to work.
The idea that no women want to work is incorrect, because obviously there are women who want to work. Now, maybe it's not their fault. Well, it is their fault. It's 100% their fault. Maybe, though, what I'm saying is it's because they're looking in the wrong places and they just don't know the women that I know. And a lot of you watching probably know. I mean, there's so many men out there who look at these guys like, what world do you live on? What world do you live on where women are feminists and don't want to work? I know that may be statistically correct. I know that in whatever metro areas or this or that, in certain circles, but not in the typical Christian circle. Not in your typical traditional circle where most Christian guys are watching from. Those women are great. And the problem is then that Nick's rhetoric, the guys take that. He's talking about the liberal women. He's talking about the women who aren't even believers, right? These are not even Christian women. And then they begin to pull that rhetoric into their Christian circle, and they view their Christian sisters as that way. And it's completely inaccurate. And they miss out on the opportunity to date and marry these wonderful women that are right in front of them because they're like, all women are this because Nick said so. You know, so that's the danger of this. He's not correct. Not all women are that way. And as a man, you take responsibility on yourself to go find a woman who isn't. Okay, we're going to skip ahead to about the 2-minute mark here.
Looking at these like frumpy, obnoxious, this is not actually appealing at all. And I don't want to start a family with a person
Sounds
like
awful.
this. Yeah, it is.
But if you believe in the patriarchy, as I fervently do, because it's just reality, we didn't choose the system. We were born into a system
Okay, so Tucker's about to say exactly what I just said about the patriarchy. Listen to how Nick responds.
that is part of nature, can't get out of it. So if you believe that that's true, which it is, then you think that men should lead. And if it's going to be better, men should make it better because that's their job.
Right.
So you don't want to give them a pass, do you?
Right.
Be like, it's all the girls suck. So
I don't even blame it on the women because I think that
Okay.
it's the
So Nick doesn't blame it on the women. So listen to what he does blame it on then. But he's kind of a chameleon. Nick's a little bit of a chameleon. He kind of morphs into what you want him to morph into. So he says, I'm not blaming it on the women, even though he just literally 2 minutes ago said it's the women. Okay, so now we're going to chameleon out of that. Now we're going to blame it on the incentive structure of the women, which was put in place by who? The patriarchy. If what Nick is saying is true.
incentive structures. Women are allowed to do this by the legal system,
Which was
by
put in place by men.
kind of social norms. Technology is a big part of it. The attention that is available
Who are the leaders in the tech space? Men.
to women. Women go on Instagram and they get attention from thousands of men.
Whose fault is that? The men giving them the attention.
So it's the incentives. But I would say that, because I hear this all the time, people say, well, the men need to step up and be better and lead the women.
Yes.
Easier said than done.
Yes, easier said than done. Everything's easier said than done. Literally everything is easier said than done. But that's not the point of being a man. The point of being a man is that you do things, regardless of how hard they are.
of course I agree
because
with that.
they're at war with the system, and not even just the system, but also society. Because let's say you find one of these so-called good girls who's
Yeah.
Christian and traditional, but through osmosis, wherever you go, she's going to be in society. She's going to be on TikTok. She's going to be on Instagram. She's going to be talking to other women. And maybe she's one way when you meet and get married, but 10 years down the road, 15 years, 20 years down the road, people change.
Okay, so this again is where Nick does a great job at appealing to young guys, right? Young guys feel like, yeah, I am up against the system. I'm up against these incentive structures, and I don't feel like I can enact change. Okay, and so Nick is giving them like a more broken down version of it. Well, here's the problem. It's not just you guys, it's also the women, and that feels really good. Okay, so, and I totally get that. But again, here's the problem. He goes on to say, what if you do find a good girl? What if you do find a great Christian girl? And then he, unfortunately, I'm not trying to ad hominem him, but the guy's not been in a relationship. Okay, the guy's not been married. So he just, as much as you may like him or dislike him, he cannot speak from experience. He does not know what it is like to lead a woman. So now he says, what if you meet a good girl and then she's on Instagram and TikTok and 10, 15 years down the road, she changes because of TikTok and Instagram? And that's just not an argument. I mean, any one of us guys who's been married, if you are not married and you go talk to someone in your church, I'm not saying go talk to any random guy, okay? Because you may end up getting a nick. I'm saying go talk to a good elder in your church, a man who's been faithful to his wife for 20, 30 years, a guy who's been married for at least, 10, 15 years. Talk to them about how they lead their wife and say, so, sir, have you found that when your wife's on Instagram, it actually changes her and ruins her and makes her more liberal? And the guy's going to be like, no. I mean, I don't know about any of those guys, but my wife is probably more conservative than I am. Okay. And women who are married to godly men, women who are in the Bible, who are studying scripture, the good girls that Nick is talking about, that I just frankly think he hasn't met, and it's unfortunate for him. But those women, I mean, the maternal instinct in them makes them so insanely conservative. It's wild. It's awesome, right? And Charlie and Erica Kirk always said this, that Erica was the more conservative one. And what happens is when a woman gets that maternal instinct from God, and she feels like she needs to protect her kids, oh my goodness, on issues like abortion or or some of these more social issues, they get crazy about it. And it's awesome. So I have never, ever once had to worry about my wife becoming liberal or feminist from TikTok or Instagram. I mean, that's just so, if that's what makes a woman liberal through osmosis, then it's because her husband is a very, very subpar leader. Okay? Again, because it comes back to the husband. He's supposed to lead. If the wife changes, then it's because he didn't show her the better way. It's because he didn't show her what it was like to love Christ and to follow Christ. The fault comes back to the husband.
And I think that women, as kind of the ultimate conformists, the ultimate enforcers of like social norms, I think eventually the pressure from society kind of gets to them, and a lot of them will go in a
Depends what
different
kind of
direction.
husbands they have. I mean, if there's real leadership at home, I don't know a single.
Yes, Tucker's about to hit this hard. I remember during COVID, what Nick was saying there. He was saying about how women end up, caving to social norms and social pressure. I think that's exactly. Maybe I have a one-of-one wife. I do have a one-of-one wife. But I remember during COVID, right at the beginning, when none of us really knew what was going on, and we were all kind of like, what is this? What is going on? And the mask mandate first came out right at the beginning. I was kind of like, as the leader of the home, I was like, well, let's just put the mask on, I mean, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on. I'm still trying to do my research. And my wife instinctually is just like, absolutely not. I'm never wearing that. And she walks in there and gets kicked out of the store because, I mean, she's awesome. But I don't think if you find a good woman, if you find the right woman, if you're not looking in the clubs in Miami like all these guys were when they did their big stream together, if you're looking where the godly women are, Nick's not speaking from any kind of position of power or authority here. He just literally doesn't know what he's talking about. And it's no fault of his own. He's never lived with a woman. He doesn't know what this is like. And I'm sure as a famous guy, he's not getting his Instagram DMs flooded with women who are good and godly. And I'm sure as a political figure, in whatever circles he runs in, he's not running into women that are wonderful, Proverbs 31, 1 Peter 5, Ephesians 5. He's not running into these kind of women. And so he just hasn't had that kind of exposure.
Happily married woman who's liberal, not one. I know a lot of married women. I mean, I'm 56. All the women I know are married. Mm-hmm. And every happily married woman is non-liberal. Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine. There's no category for happily married, middle-aged liberal woman. There isn't, never been one.
Right.
So maybe the job is to, make a girl happy and all this nonsense ends.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that
yeah, I don't know. So I think Tucker's right. Yeah, you should make your girl happy. And now Nick would probably view that as simp behavior, right? And he's going to go and say, I don't know, I don't think that'll work. It does work, and it will work.
That could be a bottomless pit too, because...
Could be a bottomless pit. He's right about that, but probably not. Most likely not.
The one critique I have of the men is, and you're right about this, they enable this behavior.
There we go. Good job. Good job, Nick. That's exactly right. So because of that now, should we maybe turn our conversation towards something more helpful? If they're part of the problem, then what would be the most helpful for men is to solve their part of the problem, right? But he doesn't stay there very long.
Well, that's for sure.
It's epidemic of simps who...
Okay, so all right, let's let him finish. Let him finish.
And especially with Christians, I've noticed this. This is why Andrew Tate has so much appeal, and the Christians are kind of losing this conversation. Andrew Tate's a Muslim polygamist who is very chauvinistic, and you could even argue it as someone who has ran an OnlyFans site himself, is not an observer, let's say, of Christian sexual morality.
No.
But men are going with him because he's putting women in their place. He's talking about patriarchy and women's place in a society like that. Whereas Christian men, Catholics, Protestants alike, are both kind of tone policing the men. And they worship their wives.
That's not true. That's not true. We're going to get into this scripturally, why he's not right about this. He's conflating worship with something else.
Worship the women, put them on a pedestal.
Yes, put them on a pedestal. Yes.
and they, they kind of get bossed around. They get henpecked by the women.
Not true. Not if you have the right wife.
I think we're required to love our wives.
Yes. Okay, so Tucker's going to go into the kind of the point. He has a great response here. He doesn't push hard enough, but it's a good response. Any marriage advice that requires less of a man than what Christ did for the church, you should throw out. A marriage between a man and a woman is meant to be a picture and an image of Christ loving the church. And so when Nick says things like, all these Christian guys are simps and all these guys are putting their wife on a pedestal, well, the Bible literally says that you wash your wife with the word of God. I mean, that's literally an act of servitude there's so many like sensual ways to think about that it probably does imply biblically, sensually, that the leadership is such a careful and gentle and considerate leadership when it's coming from the husband to the wife. It says in another place in the Bible that you should dwell with your wife with understanding. Understand that she is the weaker vessel, that she might have this struggle or that struggle. It is your call as a man to dwell with her knowing that, and then to love her as Christ loved the church, laying down his life for her. So in that sense, then, yes, the church is put on a sort of a pedestal. I mean, we are the people of God, right? And so ought not a husband to place his wife in that position, to wash her with the word, to love her unconditionally as Christ loves the church? Yes, of course he should. And so Nick does not do a great job at articulating this.
All over the New Testament. Husbands, love your wives. Wives, respect your husbands. That seems like a very natural balance to me.
Yeah, and I think that you have to love your wife.
Okay. You have to love your wife.
As your wife.
What do you mean by that, Nick?
Yeah.
A lot of men.
As opposed to what? Your mom?
Well, no, like your buddy.
No.
Because I hear this all the time, and I hate this. Guys will say, I married my best friend.
Okay. No. Your wife is your best friend. Let's define friendship, okay? Friendship is two people who share life together. They're committed to the same goals, to the same tasks. If you and your wife have kids, how could anything bring better friendship than that? Because once you have kids, the primary goal of your life is to raise those children. And so as a husband and wife, how could you not be doing that to the highest degree possible? It's a joint venture. That's where the friendship comes from. Yeah, I have work relationships with my buddies and we're very close, right? I love my guys. They're awesome. Why do I like them? Well, because we have like a shared identity. We have a shared venture. And so if that's what makes you close friends with somebody, then your wife should be 10x anybody else in that regard. 10x anybody else. So this idea that you should love them as your wife, but not necessarily as your friend, what exactly does that mean? Do you mean, Nick, that you should love them as like your sexual partner, but not on like the emotional level? How is he separating this? Because that's when you get into really dangerous, I just spit. That's when you get into really dangerous territory, is when you start saying, oh, I love my wife for the intimacy and then I love my guys for everything else. That's not how Christ loves the church. That's not how Christ loves the church. Christ isn't like, oh yeah, I love the church, but me and the Father and the Holy Spirit, we got a real thing going on. Like, no, it's the bride of Christ, and he literally died for her. Christ laid down his life for her. And so if you're willing to lay down your life for somebody, that puts them in the highest possible position, right?
And I think, she's your wife. She's not your best friend. Because there's a difference.
Yeah. Well, let's let Tucker answer the question.
I think that when you talk about your best friend, you're a peer, you're an equal. And I think your best friendships are with other men.
Okay, I would push back on that with this. Any friendship you have with a guy and he's saying that's your peer, that's your equal, not across the board. I mean, every relationship I have with every guy, one of us is higher than the other in something. So like I have a great relationship with my clients, but they're my client and I'm the service provider. That's not equals. That's not peers. We have different roles. Any friendship that I have with my father or my brother. Those are different. Maybe my brother and I are peers. That's like one of the only relationships that is more peer, because we're both equal in terms of relationship. And we just have friendship in that. But obviously my friendship with my dad is different, right? He would be my superior. So, I mean, men have friendships with people all the time. Your boss, your employer, you have different pecking orders in the military, you have different ranks. So I see how that is no different than at home, where the husband has the ordained role of leader and the wife has the ordained role of being the helpmeet, and yet they are completely equal in the eyes of God. That's a perfect recipe for friendship.
And I think that your wife ultimately is subordinate to you. She's your helpmate. Yeah. And ultimately, as the man in the marriage and as the father, you have authority, the final say over the household.
Sure. Well,
and she can give advice. It's not to say I'm not a freak where you say, shut up, woman. I mean, of course, you discuss things with your wife and your wife gives input, but the authority rests with the man.
Of course. So he's, again, no issue with that at all. So if that's the case, then you still have not made a case as to why your wife cannot be your best friend. And this is what's dangerous, because it is putting these ideas in men that they're going to go into marriage, and sure, they'll follow the biblical structure for marriage. They'll be the leader. They'll be the head of the household. But because of all this rhetoric, they're going to be like, nah, I can't be best friends with you. I can't simp with you. I can't snuggle and watch a movie with you. Like, why the heck not? Why not? Why can't you take her out to eat? Why can't you tell her you love her every single day? Why can't you tell her she's beautiful? Why can't you genuinely mean those things? Why can't you be that way? Is that not how Christ is with the church? Does Christ not give gifts of the Holy Spirit to the church? Did Christ not wash the church? Did Christ not die for the church? Like, all of these things that he's talking about, they do not represent that beautiful union and marriage that we see with Christ in the church. Okay, so now we're at 208, and we're going to get into Nick's personal view. And I love that he says this is his personal view, because that's great. I have no problem with his personal view, but we're going to talk about how it's not how it is. It's not realistic, and I'm just so sad for him that this has been his personal experience.
I don't know. I personally find women very frustrating when they are not expressing, and I just view that as
that's the beauty of it.
I see, the way I look at it is like when you look at your favorite TV shows,
right?
The Sopranos, Breaking Bad, it's like the wife is the villain, because it's like the main character, if the wife could just get out of the way, would be running the show. And that's kind of how I feel like Ayn Rand, I agree with her about this. She said that.
Okay, so the fact that he relates it to like Breaking Bad is hilarious. That's funny. But again, sure. Are women frustrating sometimes because we don't comprehend them or we don't understand them? Maybe, but what does the Bible say? You are called to dwell with them with understanding. That's the whole point. That's why, that's the point. Just like Christ has to dwell with the church with understanding. You think the church frustrates Christ a little bit? Yeah. But does that change at all what Christ does for the church? No, not at all, right? And so this is the marriage. This is the union we're supposed to have together. And then he's going to go into talking about what he believes the role of a wife is. Let's listen to this. This is very interesting. And this is biblical, but there's going to be a weird twist at the end. So watch out for this.
That the wife's role is like hero worship. The guy is the hero. The guy is supposed to be the entrepreneur, the conqueror, whatever. And the woman is really supposed to support the man's goals and be in his world. And that's felt that.
Okay, so Tucker's going to push back on that. I actually don't think there's that much wrong with that. If you think about the relationship between Christ and the church does worship Christ. Now, in a marriage, obviously, the wife is not going to worship the husband as a god or a deity, right? So, but if we take maybe a less conventional, what's definition of the word worship, and we simply mean it like admiration, then yes. A wife's primary role would be to admire and respect her husband. That's scriptural. It says, wives, respect your husbands in all things. And so, sure, that's biblical. But it doesn't have to be like one or the other, right? And it's not a zero-sum game. It's not like either she respects and she respects and I domineer, or she dominates and I'm a simp. It's like not. That's not the ultimatum, right? We're not in an ultimatum here. It can be both. The wife respects and you lavish upon her all of the attention and love and everything that she then deserves, that she is owed, because the Bible says, render to your wife the affection due her. You as a husband owe your wife affection, biblically. Now that could be if she wants it sexually, then give it to her sexually, right? If she wants it in the form of emotional support, then give her that affection. Whatever that affection is that's like her love language, you owe that to her, just like she owes you yours, right?
Last thing successful men need is more power worship, more hero worship, more, you're so great. When you get that at work, you don't want that at home. You become an unbearable asshole, and then you fall prey to what destroys every successful man, which is hubris. Like,
I don't think Tucker's right there. I think that men need support. Maybe not worship. The term worship is probably what spooked him, but men do need support at home. That's the number one thing men need.
You mistake yourself for God. You need someone who's not interested in what you do at all, only interested in you. And that's how you become balanced and wise. That's how you know your own limits. Because the ass kissing is what kills you. It's not, I mean, you had someone come to murder you at home. It doesn't seem to have affected you that much.
And if I were married, dude, she would never let me hear the end of it.
Well, that's probably true, but
I don't know what world this guy lives in. If someone came to my house and threatened to hurt my family, my wife would so get on board. I mean, she would be so on board with what I was doing, because she knows, obviously, what you're doing is for the kingdom and what you're doing is for the right things. And if people are trying to threaten us, like I've showed my wife some of the threatening messages that we've gotten. And we've experienced nothing like Nick. I'm not even putting myself in the same ballpark as Nick. But my wife and I have received some serious, like, threatening messages. And every time I show them to her, it's just motivating for all of us. So I don't, again, this guy apparently he hasn't met someone like my wife. And again, my wife's probably the only one. I probably got the greatest girl on the planet. Right? So I would willingly say that. I believe I did.
But that's not what destroys men. It's not adversity that destroys men. It's comfort and flattery that destroys men. Right? That's what happened to King David. It's what happens to them all.
Yeah.
You're so great. You can never go wrong.
I just feel like we have I don't feel like we have an abundance of affection from women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, in terms of where the pendulum is at, I feel like the women are very unloving to the men. That's why, like, they don't cook. Because that's like the best way to express a love for a man. I said this on my
Like, again, man, I just feel bad for the guy. All due respect, but he doesn't live with a woman. He doesn't know. He has no idea. Do women cook or not? Like, how would he know that? How would he know that women don't cook? Is there a statistic? Is he just watching TikTok? Like, how does he know women don't cook? Women do still cook, like, predominantly in traditional and conservative and Christian circles. That's still the norm, but unfortunately just not in the circles he's running in. And that women don't show an abundance of love and affection. Like, again, what world is this guy living in? Young men, if you're still here, if you're still watching this, it's possible. They're out there. I found one, okay? And thousands and thousands of other men, millions of other men, are finding women like this every single year. Please do not become jaded. Do not become pessimistic. Do not think that women are your enemy or the problem. They are not. Your enemy is you. Your enemy is your own sin. And if you pursue Jesus with your whole heart and you are fully fixed on him, do you not think that the Lord will lead you to the partner that he has for you? Do you not think that your God is powerful enough to do that? Of course he is. And the best way that we can change society for real is to find those women, get married, raise kids who love Jesus, who are going to vote their conscience, who are going to vote the scriptures, that we as men continue to vote the scriptures, that we encourage our wife to vote the scriptures, because if you find a good, godly, wonderful wife, then you two together get 2 votes, right? That's a good thing. You get 2 votes for your ideology, for the gospel, for the principles of Christ. That's a good thing. I want to leave you guys with one quote. It is from Thomas A. Kempis, and it is from his book, The Imitation of Christ. And it's written kind of in King James English, so bear with me on this, but it says, "If thou canst not make thyself such as thou wouldst, how canst thou expect to have another according to thy liking?" In other words, You cannot make others as you want them to be, since you can't even make yourself as you would like to be. And this applies very much to what Nick is saying here. And it applies to the victimhood, identity politics that go on so prevalently. Just like Jesus said, let's not worry about the speck in their eye before we remove the plank in our own. So men, the buck does stop with us. We do bear the responsibility, and we do bear the power to change it. So let's take that responsibility. And I want to encourage you guys not to give up hope. There are wonderful, godly women out there for each and every one of you. If you seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, all these things will be added unto you. And that's a very spiritual answer. Here's the practical answer. Go where the godly women are. Go to the places in the country where the godly women are. Go to the churches where the godly women are, right? Go to the youth events. Go to the conferences. Go to the places where the good, amazing, godly woman that you desire is going to be. Don't lie to yourself and think that you're just going to find her in any random place, because you won't. You need to go where they are. Get practical, get realistic, but they are out there. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.